All right, so before we jump into this, for those of you that I haven't met, I'm Dave Will, co-founder and CEO, and I'm going to have very little to do with this meeting. This meeting is brought together by your client success team, Ashley, Megan, Melissa, and Kathleen. If you don't know them, Ashley, Megan, Melissa, and Kathleen, can you guys raise your hands? Because I'm not sure everybody has worked with all of you guys. Really, anybody's first time here?
Paige.
I love this celebratory emojis. Good. Would greatly appreciate seeing your faces. We consider this a meeting and we want as much interaction and questions as possible. However, I understand you're eating lunch or you haven't showered yet or in your middle of a workout. I totally get that. I often hear that. Oh, I haven't showered yet. Do you imagine that 20 years ago in the office? Yeah, it's 11. I haven't. Hey, Lily. All right. So, listen, before we get into the content's really, really good today. Before we get into the content, I'm going to put into the chat our LinkedIn membership masterminds group for membership people that we started not too long ago. Um, this was a bit of an experiment, and I think what we're discovering is that the actual LinkedIn chat isn't super active. I'm not really sure why. But we hold these monthly meetings like this, where but it's not about PropFuel. It's about engagement, conversation, and tactics. We had one a week ago, and it was just absolutely awesome. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, getting outside of the PropFuel experience and into more membership, general stuff, and hearing from your peers, join that LinkedIn group. I would love to see you in there. All right. Having said that, today's topic is absolutely awesome. It's something I've been preaching for a long, long time. It's this mentality of being able to create, or the tactics on being able to create campaigns that are working for you in the background. So an example, and I call these evergreen campaigns. You can call them whatever you want, but basically it's creating this automation, usually through an integration with your AMS that triggers action upon something happening in the AMS. A good example would be like new member onboarding. New member onboarding is this automated campaign. You build it, or as some people say, set it and forget it. I don't love the forget it part, but setting it and letting it run on its own, really, really helpful to save you guys time. And if you do it right and you're setting up alerts, now you're not really forgetting it. You're just having somebody, in our case, you're having the platform tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, Janet, it's time you got to reach out to this person, or hey, this person could use some extra attention, or this person needs a phone call. So that's the idea of this set it and forget it stuff. Other examples, you're going to see a whole bunch of examples in here, but our goal is to make it really, really easy for you to do a better job engaging your members. And that's what today is all about. So with that, Melissa, I think you're driving the show today, right?
Yep, I am. I share my screen. Thanks, Dave. And if you are not currently sharing your video and you feel comfortable or compelled to do so, feel free. That way we can all sort of see each other. This is meant to be an open round table. There's no head of the table. We're all just together here. So there'll be a few clients. Thank you in advance to those that have volunteered to speak. They'll be sharing their examples, but feel free to chime in with any questions. Any sort of sidebar we can have both in the chat and as well as just happening on video. So let me share my screen so that we have a few the slides we can look through, especially with some examples. It tends to be helpful to see what exactly we're talking about. So here we've got our evergreen campaigns. We agree, like, I don't want to forget it, but maybe like kind of almost like it's chugging along in the background that you can check when you need to, but that it's not super right in your face. So I would love getting started here with a discussion question. We'd love to hear what you're most hoping to get out of our roundtable today. And that might be easier to just pop in chat, especially because it takes a minute for you to sort of type that all out. But just briefly, what are you hoping to get? Are you looking for new ideas or inspiration? Are you looking to just hear from others what's been working well? Yeah, thanks, Margaret. Even more ideas, new ideas. Thanks, Allison. See what others have done. Thank you, Ginger and Sierra. Yeah, Dave, of course. We'd love for you to have by the end of this an idea, and then you can start to implement an evergreen campaign that's going on in the background, something that you can sort of set and almost forget it. Listen and learn. I love this. Thank you all so much. Feel free, if you haven't put yours in there, put what you're hoping to get out of today in the chat. I'm going to start with a little bit of an overview of how we define an evergreen campaign, which is a sequence or a drip campaign that's continuously enrolling contacts. That is typically from your connectors, so your marketing system or your AMS, something that is intended to nurture and engage your audience with timeless content. So you're not having to always update it. You can sort of leave it there and let it engage your members and guide them through a journey without too many updates, something that you can sort of let go on in the background. We're going to talk about some specific use cases around campaigns, but I wanted to first talk about why we should care. Like, why should we have an evergreen campaign, or why you should maybe think about getting an evergreen campaign or 2 or 3 in your PropFuel account. I think one of the key things is consistent engagement. So even when you're super, super busy, you're juggling a lot of projects, it's continuing to work in the background for you, which hopefully reduces your workload, that you can set it and then almost forget it, pull the data that you need when you need it, but not feel like you're on the hook for a specific day and time to go do something with some sort of list. Something that's going to give you long-term value and use. So it's continuing to work for you. And a key benefit for a nurture campaign in particular is it could support other campaign efforts. So that way, instead of you feeling like, oh, I just sent that PropFuel check-in, I got to go see how people responded. And now I'm going to go follow up with people based on how they responded because they haven't done the thing yet. Whether they've done the thing is registered for the conference, renewed their membership, joined, even though they said they were going to. Having something that you can set up and have it do the nurturing for you, it can be really, really beneficial.
All right, and evergreen campaigns can touch basically every instance within that membership journey. So if you think about the full life cycle of your member, there's a way to automate and set up sequence campaigns for these. And I'm sure you've already heard us talk about this a lot, probably too much, but it's because it's such great foundational campaigns for you to have. And also each of these use cases has blueprints available. So from acquisition, from obtaining new members, maybe you have people who attend events, webinars that are non-members, and you want to connect with them, you could set that up as an automated basis. Onboarding, continuing member engagement. So maybe after people renew their membership, they're dropped in an onboarding-like type of engagement campaign. Renewals, nurturing renewals. Sometimes people have those campaigns set up for their dues renewals or win backs, but we don't have that nurture aspect. So we have a bunch of examples here to show you for that nurture, and then feedback, satisfaction and feedback. So they've been a member for a while, sort of connecting with them on an ongoing basis to gauge their feedback or obtain their feedback. And here are some relevant blueprints that you can use. Oh, that blueprint button's a little out of date here, but same sort of idea here. But we have blueprints available for all of these campaign use cases, and we're continually adding more. And I mentioned renewals. Don't forget about certification renewals, any other products or resources that you have to renew. I have a client currently working on mentorships, getting their mentors to reconfirm if they're still a mentor. So there are definitely so many different use cases that you may not have thought about that we'll talk about. And then here are some other campaign ideas. I mentioned briefly nurturing. So if people say they have a positive intent, yes, I plan to renew. Yes, I would like to rejoin. Having that automated campaign that checks in with them 2 weeks later. Hey, you let us know that you plan to renew or rejoin, but you haven't done so yet. Is there anything I can do to help you? You can then add a suppression list of people who have renewed. So then it automatically scoops them out. So truly, you said it. And you then just get to come in and look at the stats, or you get an alert of somebody that needs additional assistance. So once you've built it, it takes the work out off of your plate. Member engagement campaign. So after they've already been a member for a while, you can run the onboarding blueprint, change up some of the language, switch around some of the questions. You can make it shorter, make it longer, whatever works for you. Certification. Oh my gosh, the acquisition process is such a great use case that I think is underutilized with PropFuel. Think about people who don't have a certification that you offer, connecting with them. Have you thought about earning your certification? Yes, no, maybe, tell me more, and then nurturing them through that process. I have a few clients who have done that. It's been a really successful campaign. We don't have a blueprint. Do we have a blueprint for that yet? I don't think we do. Actually, I think we have one in the works. But yeah, if we don't have one yet, we will have one. Post-purchase, member support feedback, abandoned carts. So this is one we don't have a lot of examples for, but think about dues that are sitting in a cart or event registrations where they've started the process, they just haven't paid. There's a way to automate nurturing them to get them to take that action. And then just sort of satisfaction, profile updates. You know, if you need to update pieces of data within their profile, we could set it and almost forget it. And then of course, SMS opt-ins, even if you're not using PropFuel SMS, which you should, it's such a great little tool there. We can automate that. You can even add it into your onboarding process. But yeah, Margaret, go ahead and ask away, interrupt me. It's all good.
Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt. So just really quickly, this is probably, you might get to this later, but the abandoned cart idea, obviously PropFuel has to work with like another whatever. So would that work with Salesforce? Like, or are you going to talk about that later? Because that's fascinating.
Yeah, it's going to depend on what we're connected to. Salesforce does have reports. So if you can create a report in Salesforce of those abandoned carts, we can pull them into a campaign. Most likely that's how most AMS integrations would work for the abandoned carts, is a query or a report in that AMS. Yeah. I have a client who did it for an event registration and offered a discount. So like, hey, we know it's in your cart. Here's a discount code if you take action now. So yeah. We're recording too, so don't feel like you have to quickly jot down all your notes.
And Megan, to answer your question, so we have quite a few certification blueprints in PropFuel. So if you go to your account and you click create new campaign, you'll be able to see we have drop downs. There's one called certification. We don't have a certification nurture yet, but we are building 12 new blueprints this quarter. We're getting them done. So that is one of them. But there's a certification acquisition, which is asking people if they want to take one, an engagement for after they say yes. So lots of evergreen ones in there already if you want to kind of run that and see if it'll work for a nurture.
Thanks, Ashley.
Of course.
And if you, like Margaret, have ideas that you want to, or questions you want to ask, either to us as the CS team at PropFuel or to other folks, like unmute, go for it. Love it.
Yeah, to Melissa's point. So pop in the chat or unmute. I'm interested to know, so you've heard some of the ideas of things that you could do in PropFuel. You're going to see some actual in-depth examples, but is there anything that kind of piqued your interest that you're like, hey, we're actually doing that manually and it could be evergreen? Go ahead and put it in the chat or unmute. And Melissa, if you don't mind going one back, maybe we can show everyone that list again.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, certification marketing, that's a really good one. So a lot of clients will choose to, ask in the new member onboarding, like, are you interested in a certification? You can automatically put them into a campaign if they say yes. Again, that's your evergreen right there. Feedback.
Yeah. Margaret says inactive in the community platform. That's really interesting. Like, if you have that data, let's just say in Higher Logic or whatever, if you have that data, it goes into Salesforce, meaning like the last date of activity. If there's a period of time greater than a month that they have been inactive, that might trigger them going into a campaign. Yeah, that's really interesting. Certifications are really, really easy to automate. Profile updates. We've been talking for a while about coming up with an evergreen profile update approach, and I think that's looming in the near future, where you list off the profile data that's really, really important to you. And then in PropFuel, we will ping people where those fields are empty until they fill them out. But anyway, that's not now.
And
You can
Dave,
still collect profile stuff. Yes.
sorry, to your point about the inactive in the community platform, I'm sure I'm one of those masterminds that wants to join. I just have not talked as much. So maybe we could even be, I don't know if that could be that data from LinkedIn. I don't know, but like to even try it out on us, possibly that would be really interesting because, I was thinking like not as advanced as you were thinking, but just pulling a report and sending it to Melissa or figuring out how to upload it myself and be like, done,
Yeah. I mean, ideally, there's no uploading. Ideally, there's data talking back and forth, of course.
Yeah, another one. So Janet just said we're using another marketing tool to do onboarding, but thinking about changing it over to PropFuel. Thank you, Margaret. Do it. Yeah, that's like the best thing I could say is just, set it up ahead of time. It's usually 12 check-ins across the first year. There is a blueprint for that. So you're not building from scratch. We've put all the best practices in there. So Janet, let's connect.
So we just built, I'm gonna share a little insider secret with you. It's not really a secret. We use PropFuel to serve you guys too, right? Like you're our members and you are subscribers, and we've got 250 organizational members, I guess you could say, and each organization has 3 to 10 or 1 to 10 users. So like we've got a couple thousand people that we want to engage on a regular basis. And so one of the things that our team just finalized, I think Cathleen was the mastermind behind this, is a feedback system where I may have this a little bit off, but somewhere around the 6-month period of after you start with PropFuel, you'll get a net promoter score, just saying, hey, how would you recommend us to appear, and followed by an open-ended thing. Based on your score, we may or may not ask for more information, but it also triggers to us who needs some help and who doesn't. And then a couple months later, you get another kind of satisfaction question that gives us some clue as to whether or not you're getting value out of PropFuel. Because if you're not getting value, are you going to, quote, renew your membership with PropFuel? We want you coming back to us, of course. We want you getting so much value out of PropFuel that you renew and renew and renew and continue the subscription with us. And so that's how we're using feedback twice a year. We're reaching out to you to get, whoops, there's my celebratory balloons. But twice a year, we're reaching out to you so that we can, A, improve the product, B, make sure that we're serving you well, and C, identify happy clients for testimonials and sad clients for that need attention. So that's, I love the general feedback thing too. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, continue to put stuff in the chat that kind of piques your interest. And if there's something you're doing that you see another client is like, hey, I want to do that, connect with them. And if nothing else, we'll look at this afterward, and your CSM will connect with you. So it's a good way to kind of get that on the books. I want to look at some examples though. So we have Leah on the call from the Oregon Society of CPAs. So they have actually a couple campaigns. They have they have a series of acquisition campaigns and an onboarding campaign, a new member onboarding. So she's going to talk about both of those. Leah, I'm just going to let you take it away and talk about acquisition.
Sure. So yes, we have 3 acquisition campaigns. We have 3 markets of potential members that we regularly are able to get a list from our Board of Accountancy in order to be able to, 2 of them come from the Board of Accountancy. Anyway, all that information already goes into our AMS. And so we can easily, I had our developers add a field for marketing start date. And so that is what drives them filtering into these campaigns without us having to do anything. So when we set up the record in our AMS, we just add that marketing start date, and that's going to kick off that plus the prospective member type that we've assigned. We'll put them into the correct bucket. And so we don't have to worry about, we get lists every month, and then with our students, we get those basically out of like events and things that they attend. So as long as they get put in the AMS correctly, they get into the campaigns correctly. The really nice thing about this is that, while each campaign is tailored to the audience, the audience still is driving what's important to them. I mean, in the past, like we're all familiar with traditional email, we were telling them what they're interested in. And so obviously with PropFuel, we get more of a chance for them to choose what's important to them, rather than us trying to figure that out. And this was one actually that Ashley definitely helped us with when we set it up, that they all have a nurture campaign. So if someone answers positively to the main campaign, they're removed from that and then sent into, I want to say a harder sell campaign, but a more aggressive campaign because they've shown interest. We can kind of be a little bit more direct with them about joining. So that's kind of, those are the basics of the acquisition. This one was the first, these were the first ones we set up as evergreen. So it's been a while ago. So I don't recall all of the details, but it really is set it and forget it. Once we've done the upfront work of getting them into the AMS, it all just comes from there. There's a few things that notify us based on answers that they've given. And I feel like it's been a better, we did have automated emails before, but I think our engagement is better with this, using PropFuel. Is there anything else you remember about it, Ashley?
No, I think that's really it. The only thing I was going to add, and we've kind of alluded to this, and some have said it in the chat, is, in a perfect world, your AMS can automate everything for you. But if your AMS can't automate things in the way that OSCPAs has, it's okay. Don't kind of stop there and say, oh, we can't do evergreen, because even just by adding that nurture campaign after somebody has answered, that automatically adds people to be nurtured. There you go. You're still automating, you're still setting and forgetting something. So, there's always going to be a way you can kind of get into that evergreen territory.
Yeah. And like has been said, maybe don't set it and forget it. You should exactly. You should set reminders for yourself to go in and review your content, make sure everything's still, accurate, that website links haven't changed, that sort of thing. We try to do that, at a minimum. As we're coming into our next fiscal year, we'll review kind of all of our marketing materials at a minimum. So that's part of it. We do actually have 2 of the campaigns, because they are based off of when someone is either certified or passes their exam. We do actually kick off our campaigns in our traditional email marketing with a congratulations email. And that was just because it comes from the chair of our board, and that changes every year. So it was a little bit easier for us to let the PropFuel campaign be evergreen and not have to be changing it every year, and just have that one kickoff piece going from our traditional email marketing platform, so that is the one that we do definitely have to change every year.
Leah, I have a really quick question, and I promise I won't talk all the time. I know that we are limited. But do you have at any point as part of your campaign an opportunity for them to write back to y'all, or to have like fill in the blank responses? Because that is something that's really interesting for prospective people. Like, why are you not choosing to join or whatever? Is that something I don't know.
I think so. I think in every one of our campaigns, whether it's an acquisition or a lapsed member or a dormant member where we're asking them, you know, why have you hesitated to join or something, there's always an other where they can give us their response. Because it is very interesting to get that information.
Yeah, I just checked, Leah, and you're right. And then you have that alert that goes to your team. So again, not forgetting about it. We're just letting it run in the background and then bubbling people up. So yeah, exactly. Great question, Margaret. You never have to apologize. This is your meeting. Okay, so I want to, if there's no other questions for Leah on that one, I want to move over to onboarding. If there are questions, unmute, go ahead and ask away.
Yeah, so this is a newer one. We built this back in prior to our fiscal year starting in April, and we used the blueprint. It was amazing. So our previous, we did previously have an automated email campaign going out through our traditional email platform. And so we were familiar with the advantage of automated, but obviously PropFuel gives us that more interactive. We're letting them kind of pick what's important to them. We're actually learning from this as well. You don't get that opportunity with traditional email. So we used the blueprint. We changed just a few things. Most of it came, you know, the structure and everything. We kept most of it. It's longer than our onboarding one was, which I think is great. It includes a net promoter score, which we had been intending to do for new members anyway. So it was, I mean, the blueprint really satisfied all of our requirements. Again, it's just based on their join date. We create the list in our AMS and have it push because we have some complications of like join, rejoin dates and that sort of thing. But once they get into the onboarding, they're just in it unless they don't manage to stay a member during the whole time. So there are suppression lists that would remove them if their membership happened to lapse between the, I think it runs about 10 months from start to finish, or at least that's how ours ended up. So I did actually run some stats this morning, curious, because we've had it going for about 4 months now. And we started it with new members that joined as of April 1st. And for a year's history in our previous email campaign, we had about a 52% open rate and a 4.4% click to open rate. And in the 4 months of this PropFuel campaign, same open rate, but a 27% engagement rate. So that's the percentage of the contacts who've answered at least one question. And to me, that's amazing. And the information that we're getting back from it can help drive membership initiatives. So that I thought was fantastic. It really, you know, the engagement is just so much higher than with a traditional email. And the being able, I mean, it was key for us. Our onboarding has to be automated. We do not have the time to sit there and handhold. We did in the old days, it was manually pull a list every month and send out emails. And, you know, I mean, that's 10 years ago, but it needed to be automated. And so this was really kind of a no-brainer for us to move this into PropFuel this year.
And Leah, I think Janet has a question. Possibly for you. And then Nick, I saw your question. I'll ask that one after Janet.
Yeah, hi. Thank you very much for sharing. I wanted to know, are you on an anniversary or a calendar year membership? I'm assuming anniversary. So
their membership is calendar year as far as when they have to renew, fiscal year. So all of our fiscal year is April through March. And so depending on when they join, they'll join at a prorated rate. And then their membership is good until the end of that fiscal year, unless they renew, and then it's, you know, good going forward. So for an onboarding, we're just going based off of their join date.
Right. So and they're not going to get the last, you know, 6 or so if they join halfway through your fiscal year, right?
No, they would, because the onboarding is based on when they join. So it starts a certain number of days after their join date. I think it's 3 days because we have one welcome email that comes out before this and kind of sets up
Right.
that, you know, they're going to be getting this series of questions basically. So the onboarding runs for the period of time after they join. The only time the fact that their membership would end at a fiscal year would affect that is if they didn't renew. If they renew, they'll stay in the onboarding campaign. So as long as they're a member, as long as that status is still
I see.
active,
Okay.
yeah, then they'll stay in the onboarding campaign.
And then the other question I had, I see that one of the questions is, where are you in your career journey? And so that, does it branch out from there saying, hey, I'm just starting out? So then the information that you're giving them is in fact different than what you're giving to mid-level and.
Yes. And that helps us because there's a certain amount of information that you can get out of what you know about them to know whether they're just starting out or not, but it's not always, like, you can try to guess, but it's not always accurate. So being able to let them tell us where they feel they're at gives that ability for us to then kind of tailor the message of what our benefits are for the different groups, by them saying where they feel like they are. But just starting out is going to be a different, yeah.
The blueprint set up the template kind of, and then you edited from there.
Yes, yeah. And the blueprints are amazing at, I mean, the information it pulled from our website, we didn't have to change a lot. I also really highly recommend, even if you use the blueprints, there's the little AI generate content wizard wand or whatever that is. It is a wizard. We just did we're working on a campaign right now, a separate, not an evergreen one, but we're working on a campaign that we would just go, well, let's just see what it says. And it would come up with content, like things we wouldn't think to say, but that were perfect. So
yeah, I noticed that when I was doing another blueprint, and I think it was using ChatGPT, so it wasn't really up to date. Has that been fixed recently?
That's a good question, Janet. So I recently went in, and I think ChatGPT now has had an update, so it's not going all the way back to 2020. So without promising anything, you know, there's been talk in a lot of associations about like having these closed GPTs so that you're not looking at OpenAI. So it would essentially like feed from what you give it. So that's definitely something that we're thinking about. But I don't have like solid answers on that yet. But I do think ChatGPT has been updated as well.
And we also, in your account under advanced settings, we have an AI assistant where you can put in information and links that you want us to look at when we run blueprints. So definitely update that. If you've noticed things that have been out of date, you can even put like a URL in there. It'll summarize the page and you can make edits to it.
Yes,
okay,
thank you.
I'll be calling you.
And then Nick, so you had a really good question, and I think this could work for really any campaign you're doing in PropFuel, even if it's an evergreen campaign. So Nick said, there's some things we'd like to have in our welcome series that can't really be done in PropFuel. Has anyone attempted to do a hybrid series? So you have some from PropFuel, some from your other system. I would love, so I could answer that question for you, but I would love for somebody to unmute who's done that and maybe talk about it. Or maybe somebody who thought about doing that and was like, actually, I put it all in PropFuel.
Well, ours is both of the ones I've talked about today are just in the fact that the initial does come out of our traditional AMS because it was just a little bit easier because of information that isn't evergreen. But I mean, it's at the beginning, so it's a little bit easier to manage that than if it was something in the middle of your campaign that you wanted to do separately.
Can you be more specific? What isn't evergreen that you would put in there?
Yeah, so for us, it's the welcome email is coming from us. It's like coming from a specific person, and that changes. Like it comes from our board chair, and that changes. So it was just easier for us not to have to. It's a timing thing. It changes on a specific date, and on that specific date, it needs to cut over to the next person. And for us, that would mean like having to completely have our other PropFuel campaign ready to go kind of thing. So it was easier to just have that one initial that we can mess with just that email and not mess with an entire campaign to change the one.
Lily, did you have a question? Actually, it's perfect for you to unmute because I want you to go next, but did you have a question for Leah?
Are you
Can you hear
talking to me,
Yeah,
Lily?
can you hear me?
I heard Chloe for some reason. Yeah,
Oh.
I wanted to respond. We did do a hybrid campaign. I think it was a renewal campaign, and we ended up just combining it all with PropFuel because whatever we needed to, well, there was a couple things. I could track the engagement better in PropFuel. It just was a lot cleaner for me. And we have higher logic in forums, and we run a lot of other campaigns out of Informs, and it just got really tedious. So that was one of the reasons I brought it all back to PropFuel. I also, once I figured out how to create the email templates and upload graphics, I could make my emails coming out of PropFuel pretty dynamic and vivid in terms of graphics and visuals. So I was able to combine it later on. But what I really liked is the ability to be able to track a campaign in one system from start to finish and collect the data all in one place. I honestly, there is a place for higher logic and things like that, but I felt it was easier from the membership perspective to put it all together.
Thank you, Lily. I think we have another onboarding campaign next. Melissa, is that?
Yeah.
And then it'll be you, Lily, for renewal.
Margaret, take it away.
Sure. So this is kind of things that you've already heard, that it's a set and forget, but it is not a forget because we not only go back and check and when we have updated member benefits, but we also are able to get that information from people when they write in. And that was why I was asking Leah about that writing question, because that's what probably one of the best pieces that PropFuel can give us, best pieces of data, and what PropFuel I think is meant to do. It allows me to specifically talk to somebody about a specific concern. I had somebody who was upset about a conference thing, the way, something happened. And so I was able to say, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. And then we were able to resolve it that way. So our organization has about 90,000 members across both ASCD and ISTE. We merged recently. And so it would be impossible. I remember a time before we had PropFuel. I think we've only been with PropFuel for about 2.5, 3 years. I don't know what we did before because it's so far away, but I cannot imagine a world not using the onboarding and the campaigns to make sure people feel seen and heard every month. And since people are coming and going at every single time, it's so easy from that data to be pulled in from Salesforce, to be pulled out. Melissa does great with suppression lists, all that stuff behind the scenes. I don't even know how it works. I just know that it's a really great way to deliver and communicate with people. And I think that it's absolutely fantastic to be able to, again, also have difference of senders, so our CEO is on the first image, my director's on that second image, and then I'm on that third image. And so again, it can be that personalized touch that comes from whomever we want it to come from and have different voices. So
I also wanted to highlight here, this campaign has been, you have a few different versions of this essentially, which is also really efficient. If you create something and it needs to be customized, copy, tweak, get it out the door. But I was looking at some of the stats and it's amazing. It's gotten to, there have been nearly 700,000 emails sent to 37,000 people with a 29% engagement rate, meaning 29% of everybody that's been through the campaign has answered at least one of these questions.
It's really great for that last one. It's, is there something about the shout outs, right? Do you want to shout out a person? And again, like a person on the staff, I get messages about other colleagues. And so what a happy it is for me to be able to forward that message to Carm or to Liz and say, hey, you were recognized by this person. So it's wonderful. Oh, and my director is here. Lauren is here. The person who's on the second slide is here. a second image.
Hi, Lauren. Feel free to unmute and say hi if there's something you want to add to this here. Thanks.
Yeah, nothing's too much to add, just that, like you said, it's been amazing in how it has increased the amount of engagement we have with members in these emails, of going from, whatever the like industry like 2.6% click rate that doesn't really tell you much, to that really high response rate where like maybe they're not making it all the way through to like the benefits that we want them to like spend a lot of time with, but we're still getting really helpful data that we weren't getting otherwise because we didn't have anything else when we were sending our emails through HubSpot. So it's just been great.
Can I just want to clarify something for those of you that are not reading every single email we send out. I'm sure you all are, but just in case you missed one, we recently added a lot of metrics to campaigns. One of the most valuable metrics, I think, it's really, really cool metric, is what you've heard referred to as the engagement rate, which again, as people say it, they're also defining it. The engagement rate is anyone in a campaign that's answered at least one of the questions. So has somebody engaged in that particular campaign? And then there's the response rate, which is a different thing. In this case, 19% is the percentage of people that have responded to that question. That's like the click-through rate. So sometimes it's comparing apples and oranges, so I just want to be very clear in the language. They're both incredibly valuable metrics. I personally put a lot of stock in that engagement rate because you're just not going to get everybody with one question. But over the course of 3, 4, 8 questions, you're going to engage a huge part of the population. And that's really our goal. You're not going to get everybody to answer every question.
And then this one, and Lauren, please tag team with me if you would like. It's such a joy. This one is really exciting because, again, it's that nurture campaign of, hey, and that's personalization, like I want to hear when I am talking to somebody, I want to know that they think about me personally. And so we want to give that same experience to our members. And so it's, hey, this is what you told us at the very beginning. You were interested in networking or learning on, having better PD or whatever else. Have you reached your goal? Which then allows us, if depending on what they respond, then it's this amazing way to then nurture them and say, if they haven't, then maybe we can send follow-up responses, or it can pop up in my inbox and I can say, what's up? Or we can take a second and like look at data every quarter and kind of maybe reach out to those people that say, maybe I haven't, so why haven't you? And so there is, I know Dave mentioned the yes and no, very simple answers to begin with, or very simple questions to begin with. But then as you continue to get to know somebody, I think Melissa said this, like it's all about these human conversations. You continue to ask questions, you continue to get to know the person, and this is just a beautiful way to do that.
Yeah, again, in an automated way. This feels so personal because it's like, hey, you told us this thing, but it's automated. If someone says that their goal is, building up their professional knowledge and skills, add them to a campaign, wait 6 months, then ask. So that way you know who to follow up with when, but otherwise you can just let it go. Beautiful. Thank you, Margaret. Does anyone have any questions for Margaret and Lauren? If not, I feel free to pop things in chat if you have any questions. I know we have a few people that are planning to share their examples today. I love all the conversation. So this would be a great one to put maybe in chat, unless you've got something burning you want to unmute. If there's anything for new members that you feel like you could automate, should automate, ask a PropFuel check-in, pop that in chat. I'll pass it over to Ashley and Lily.
All right, so I'm just going to let Lily take it away. So we've talked about onboarding. Another great one that we see can really be a set it and forget it or an evergreen campaign is renewals. PIHRA is really great. So theirs is email and SMS. So Lily, feel free to touch on both of those or whichever one you feel most excited about. But I'll let you just take it away.
Well, hi everybody. I'm excited to talk to you all about the benefits of the PropFuel campaigns as evergreens. I'm a PropFuel super fan. I am with PIHRA, Professionals in Human Resources Association, and also on my team is Elisette Villanueva. She got married. She's on the line too. But so PIHRA is a part of a larger network through the Society of Human Resource Management. And I just went to their annual conference, and someone came up to me that I've never met before and gave me a huge hug because they found out about PropFuel through me. So I just wanted to communicate how much this has impacted not just my association, but our family associations in HR. So we I want to talk about the renewal campaign, but just so you know, we're running a onboarding campaign, which I probably need to get back to and improve now that I heard what Margaret and her team are doing. Phone update, it's a cell phone update text campaign. So we do have one of those profile update campaigns going. We have a volunteer interest campaign going, a reactivation campaign going. So yeah, kind of super fan, love it. Uh, it does take some time up front to make sure that the campaign emails and things like that have the marketing look that you want and the messages, but it's such a huge benefit to create these campaigns in advance and the automated responses based on what you've asked your member. And so I'm able to, and I could show you our campaign if you want, but if someone says to me, I'm not ready to renew right now, can I have some extra time? Or it'll alert me and Elisette, and we can go in and make a decision. Do we want to give this person more time? Maybe they lost their job, they got laid off. So we are able to help them. Sometimes they just need an invoice. The other thing that I really like about the renewal campaign is that they'll tell me, thanks for the reminder. So I know that we're engaging them in some way. So I kind of wrote out some key points for me and why PropFuel is so important with respect to the renewal campaign, but just in general. That continuous engagement with members. We have 18 chapters, and I also work with our volunteers to create some engagement tactics on the face-to-face level, but this really allows me to continuously engage virtually with our members. Specifically with the renewal campaign, we start touching them 75 days before their expiration date, and I think we have and please interrupt me, Ashley, or anybody, if you have a question or I'm going on and on too much, because tend to do that. But we have 5 touch points. So, we'll start off by asking them, hey, are you planning to renew? Then I intersperse this. So it's kind of based on the blueprint, because I do believe there's a blueprint. Yes. So I'll intersperse that question with, what are you looking forward to? What benefits are you looking forward to using? So then I get the data that we need to continue our planning process. So as a membership director, I have been struggling for years to keep our retention rates up, and I look at them on a quarterly basis. And part of the challenge with the retention rates, well, one of them is that we have this annual conference. So that's why I put in the chat that I probably need to do a conference win back because what happens is that they'll sign up for conference, get a membership, and then probably wait 2-3 years to sign up again. So I've been struggling with this. With the campaign with PropFuel, I am so happy to say that I am seeing a reduction in churn rates. As of Q2 2024, my retention rate is up 5 percentage points from the same period last year. So I could really go back to my board and show them the results. So I know when I met with the board the last time, I'm like, I will die on the vine for PropFuel because it just helps me so much. I see some laughter, but I did say that. The other part is the automated alerts and notifications. I never miss an important action with this, and I don't have to be looking at it every day. I know if someone needs a invoice, boom, I get an alert usually within 24 hours, but even a shorter time frame, we're sending them an online invoice renewal. We just did one today, and a long-term member was like, wow, thank you for the prompt reply. So it's just fantastic. And I also, like I said, I'll get notes from people on different sorts of campaigns. Hey, I need help, I need more time. And so me and my team will get alerts on that. I absolutely love how efficient and the time savings this campaign helps me with. Me and my team are able to focus on other things. There's not a manual effort to track what members are doing. It's kind of doing it themselves. I mean, don't get me wrong, I do have to go back from time to time, and I probably need to do it quarterly, but it's more like twice a year, because these are so efficient. And so I populate the responses with information that's not date driven. So I'll just tell them about a conference coming up, or if they're interested in professional development, for example. So I do have to go back though, because every now and then someone says, thank you for the reminder to renew, and they don't renew. So I just went through that exercise not too long ago, and I found that approximately 75 to 80% of the people who told me they were going to renew renewed, just based on the instructions that were provided. There are, maybe 20% of the folks don't, and I could just go back and remind them again, send them a personal note. Let's see, what else did I want to tell y'all? So I think I talked a little bit about the data that comes out. So I'm able to track how members respond. So for example, one of the questions I have in the renewal campaign is which benefit will help take your membership to the next level, or what benefit will help take your HR to the next level. So I'm getting information that kind of supports what we think they need. So professional development is always at the top, networking, and I think I will maybe have an open-ended question, because maybe there's something on my multiple choice that's not there, and we could track that as well. Let's see. Yeah, I am just so happy to help my team with this data, because we need to be using data to make decisions. And I'm always that person on my team is like, well, let's go back to the data that we have in PropFuel, because higher logic is, we're not able to track the data in the same way. So yeah, I don't know. I'd be happy to show you our campaign, but at least Sad or Ashley, if there's anything you think I missed, I'd love to answer questions or anything.
I think you hit everything right on the head. And there were some questions back and forth, but I see that those are being answered in the chat. So I'm okay to, let's go ahead and keep answering in the chat, and we'll keep moving on. But Lily, just so you know, I show all my clients your renewal campaign, so a lot of them have seen it.
All right, this example here, I'm just going to touch on really quickly. Michigan Restaurant and Lodging Association, they could not make it here today, but they used the onboarding campaign and reworded some of it to do a renewed member engagement campaign. It speaks to them differently than their onboarding campaign. They actually have 3 segments for all of their evergreen campaigns. So I just wanted to sort of highlight that and show the restaurant and lodging members get this certain question. Same question, different response options for their service provider members here.
All right, so in the interest of time, I'm not going to go too far into the lapse, because it's really similar to the renewal that Lily talked about. So, the main thing is that this is enrolling contacts automatically when they hit a certain point in their membership expiration date. But I just want to pull out that over 7,700 contacts have been pulled in over the last 7 months, with 18% of them engaging. And that's without the client doing anything. It's running in the background, engaging those people that probably would not be engaged otherwise, because they're a small team. So definitely something to look at if you're just feeling like you don't have time in the day, is these evergreen campaigns that can run in the background. So we're going to keep the conversation going. Feel free to put in the chat. How have you automated some of your renewal processes to maximize efficiency inside PropFuel or in other systems? We're all about ideas.
Well, that's weird. Technical difficulties with this one. I did have an example here from ASAE, which is
Melissa,
yeah.
just refresh the screen. Oftentimes Canva does this, and it's just an internet thing. If you refresh it, I suspect it'll pop up. Or not.
What's that? Made me there we go. Hold on. So while I'm pulling this up, I'll talk about it. There we go. Oop. Okay, there we go. Thanks, Dave. So I wanted to show this example because we had talked about certification nurture, and I don't think Shanice could make it last minute. So this is automated off their onboarding campaign. If someone said that they were interested in earning their certification, this follows up with them. And if they say they have started the process, then we can continue to have the conversation with them that way. And if they haven't, now we know they haven't started yet, we can give them different information. So it's really just meeting people where they are. And there, as we mentioned earlier on the roundtable, there are certification blueprints that you can pull to do something similar.
All right, and this example here is actually not an email campaign. So your evergreen campaigns could be a web external campaign type embedded elsewhere that has lots of activity. So Cornet Global embeds this check-in in every order confirmation email that they send out, obtaining feedback on their experience. This has been running since 2019 and has over 36,000 responses. It's kind of insane. But as you can see, their stats that they're getting here, and they've received over 3,700 open-ended responses for 5 years. Kind of crazy. But yeah, this is still an active campaign. They're getting feedback post-purchase on their experience and what could make it better.
Yeah, I feel like it's a good opportunity to think about where besides email you could ask a question and get that feedback in an ongoing way.
So I know we only have a few minutes left here, but same idea. So, you know, we've heard a lot about how these ongoing campaigns can really help just kind of set it and forget it for you, almost forget it. Just type in the chat what new ideas could help you increase your effectiveness and efficiency in your role today. If there's any ideas. With just 3 minutes left, I'm going to leave that in the chat, and you guys want to, if you have any responses, just kind of respond to each other with that. But just want to quickly go over, so we have some cool AI features that we've added and some reporting features. So a lot of you have probably seen it. We have this little magic wand in different places throughout the campaign. First one being in the email template in the subject line. You can click on the little magic wand and it generates subjects for you, and you can keep hitting it until it kind of jogs something for you or works. And then on any workflow actions that have a text editor. So that would be if you're sending an alert, you're sending an email to someone, or you're showing text on a landing page. That also, all those places, it can create text for you that you can start editing or leave as is. And then we have some new reporting functions, and I know these have really been touched on throughout these presentations, but in the campaign history tab, we've had some updates where there's better graphs with more information. You can see full multiple choice answers and how it's broken down. We now have 1 level deep embed question data, so that's you can see 1 level down of that data and view those responses. And then similar before, we had the delivery rate, the open rate, the bounce rate, but as Dave went into with the engagement rate, being able to see the percentage of people who actually answer the question is it's really just such a great tool to have. So, so if you haven't checked out these new features, definitely go in and look at them.
Oh, great. We've breezed through the last few examples. I'm actually going to go back a couple of slides here. If you guys have any questions or want to get feedback from those that are still on the call, feel free to pop in chat or unmute. We've still got a minute and we can always hang on a couple extra minutes.
There is one campaign that we do when you guys go live with your first campaign, and I think many of you already have, but when you go live with your first campaign, you get added to a swag box campaign. That's what we call it behind the scenes here. And while you guys were talking, I was filling out some information for the swag box I'm sending out for Natalie Oates, who responded. She's getting her hat and her t-shirt and a book and a pad and a note I just wrote during this thing. So anyway, that's how we use an automated campaign. Salesforce tells it, well, PropFuel tells Salesforce when somebody goes live. Salesforce tells PropFuel to add these people to that campaign. Those people get added, and boom, I get a notification. I get an alert saying, hey, Natalie needs a swag box, where I write it up and send it out. So there's another example of a set it and, well, I can't forget it because I actually have to engage. And every time I get one of these, I send you guys a little note to thank you. And I sincerely do read all of your feedback when you give it to us. So thank you for all that. I'm glad you liked it, Dana.
Oh, so this is a good question from Chris. If you're using the web/external campaign type, so it lives somewhere else rather than email, is there any tracking on who submitted it? So you could have it be required that they enter their name and email address, so that way it does track in PropFuel. And if you're doing it through another system that's connected, so let's say, you're using Emma or some sort of other email tool and it's embedded in there is an option to add in these little personalization items so that it does sync that data through. So you don't have to ask for their name or email address. It'll already know because that system's connected to PropFuel that marymember@gmail.com answered this question. Oh, cool.
All right. If you haven't already, if you don't have one of these campaigns up and running, your team is right here. Send them an email if you want some help. If you just want an accountability coach, somebody to say, hey, have you done it yet? Reach out to our team. We'll stay on top of you. If you're using our managed services, we'll build it for you. If not, use the blueprints. But this is the kind of campaign that's going to help you get regular, continuous value out of PropFuel without you having to do much. And that's the goal. We really, really want this to be easy for you to do a better job engaging your members.
Awesome. Well, if no one else has any questions, thank you all so much for joining us.
Thank you all. Thanks,
So
PropFuel
good to see you all.
team.
Thank y'all.
Bye, everybody. See you at ASAE. I hope to see you guys there.
Bye.
Bye.